AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's ride!
Hour 2, off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. AFR, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. I'm Matt.
Hey, Will. Hey, bud.
Paul O'Neill.
They're chanting Paul O'Neill's name.
Musa. And Mr. Toby Tomplick. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. Talk LSU Ole Miss with Chase Parham in 30 minutes from right now. Beth Torina will be here next hour. We'll look forward to that. After LSU practice on Thursday, it's when we get the player availability. And it was T.J. Daugherty, Jace Brown, and DJ Pickett were the three that came in. And it was so interesting that Pickett was one of the players that came for media availability today because it was perusing the net. And I saw one of these stories about the most irreplaceable players outside of quarterback. And obviously, I think for every team, you're going to start at quarterback. Now, maybe with LSU because you've remade that entire room. And Levitt is even not available right now. Landon Clark and Husan Longstreet getting all these reps. Like maybe that's not the most irreplaceable position. I mean, look at Ole Miss a year ago with Lane Kiffin. If you had said that, no one was thinking Trinidad Chambliss would have the type of season he did, but he did. I'm not trying to suggest that Landon Clark or Husan Longstreet could be that, 4,000-yard passer and whatever. But I think there's a reason why LSU made the investment they did, time and finances, into Sam Levitt. So if you're looking outside of quarterback, I started to think of, okay, well, what other positions do you have such a drastic drop-off at a key position? And I think left tackle would be an obvious one if you're looking at Jordan Seaton because of the investment they made there. But quite honestly, you've got guys that have played left tackle. I'm not saying they'd play at the level that Jordan Seaton would. And then you could always compensate if you need to leave a tight end to chip or block. You brought in Zach Grace, the H-back from Oregon, who didn't record an offensive statistic. He's a blocker. He's a battering ram. He's a modern-age fullback, right? So you can make amends for that. Like, if I were to look at both sides of the ball, I would tell you offensively, the irreplaceable player is Braylon Moore. I mean, that's part of your battery, and the only player other than the quarterback that touches the football on every play is the center. And that's the one that makes all the calls in the middle of the line and is the literal center and the continuity connector piece of that line. It's why on a unit that was so bad a year ago and he was so good, why this staff prioritized Braylon Moore coming back in addition to Harlan Berry and Trey'Dez Green. If you don't have Braylon Moore, your next center is probably William Satterwhite. Now, he's the transfer from Tennessee, and he's been running with the twos, and I think has great potential to be a very good player. I mean, he was an SEC recruited athlete. He just hasn't played a lot. And I think the way, as you sort of, if I can go on a tangent here, I think the way that they built this class, this portal class, was so smart by adding guys like Satterwhite, like Darren Stray from Kentucky, because what they did was they built depth. And so often I think we think of guys in the portal as wanting to be immediate plug-and-play guys, but clearly in a lot of these instances, offensive line, running back, receiver, where they added so many guys, the idea was you're coming here to compete, but probably a multi-year addition. So I look at Satterwhite as a guy that is your center in 2027. But if he's got to play in 26, that's a massive drop-off at the most important position on the offensive line. Defensively, we talked about it earlier in the week where I think you have a great first 11. I think you really worry about your depth at every spot, but none more so than corner, which is why I think DJ Pickett is probably that guy defensively. Because if you think about how important Mansour Delane was for LSU a year ago, I mean, he's a unanimous All-American. LSU's had 14 unanimous All-Americans in the history of the program. Only 4 defensive backs have been unanimous All-Americans. You realize that? Peterson, Claiborne, and Grant Delpit. And now Mansour Delane. Tyrann Mathieu, in his Honey Badger season in 2011, was not a unanimous All-American. As absurd as that sounds, it's true. So it's a very hard thing to do. So I'm not suggesting DJ Pickett's going to be that. But what Mansour Delane did was took away a half of the field. Do you realize in 7 games last year, Delane played in 11. In 7 of the 11 games, teams targeted him 3 times or fewer. Like, there were games where they just were like, yeah, we're not even going to try. Lane Kiffin said that earlier this week when he was asked about scouting remember that he was asked about scouting the LSU team when LSU played in Oxford last year. He went during pregame and was like staring. He's like, well, yeah, I go look at it. I saw that guy on film, and then I saw him warming up. I'm like, yeah, we're just not even going to throw his way. He was talking about Delane. So the idea is Delane took away half the field. That's going to be the objective for Pickett this year. So that means you're going to get a lot of action toward P.J. Woodland. But if Pickett isn't there for whatever reason, Woodland now becomes your one, or maybe we've seen Jakeem Jackson step up. But Jakeem Jackson was a highly, highly recruited guy at Florida, but injuries have really slowed his career. And you'd have Jakeem Jackson, P.J. Woodland, or you're having Michael Turner step up. Depth at corner for me is really worrisome. I feel really good about Pickett and Woodland. And I think Jakeem Jackson, when you go nickel and you go Pickett, Jackson, and then Woodland at nickel, I think that's good. That's really good. Everything subsequent, you're talking about Michael Turner, Aiden Anding. Haven Finney, I think, has a giant ceiling. I mean, he was the number 1 corner in the country for 27. He reclassed for 26, and now he's an early enrollee, but that's a guy who should be in the second semester of his junior year of high school. So I think Finney's got a massive ceiling, but do you want to be counting on him in the fall, this coming fall? I don't know that I could say that. So Pickett, for me, I think, is that guy. And he even was asked when he met with reporters about Mansour Delane and watching him this past season during his freshman year and what he learned from Delane.
Just knowing the game, knowing what's about to come, being smart, watching film, each and every play he's locked in. It's just having that want to know mentality. That's what he had. And like he said, he had that underdog mentality. So that's why I want to carry to my game. So just get that from him. It was pretty good.
The other thing, well, it sounds a lot like some of those young guys, what they would talk about, like watching Will Campbell play. The other thing that gives me tremendous confidence in the secondary, not only this year but moving forward, obviously is having Corey Raymond there. Because for as long as Corey is there, you're confident you're always going to have uber-talented players there that he continues to develop. I mean, look at Mansour Delane. Mansour Delane was a good player at Virginia Tech. I think he was second team or third team All-ACC. He was a good player. He went from good to 1 year under Corey Raymond to elite, like first cornerback off the board, top 10 pick in the draft level, elite. So Raymond always gives you that confidence. And Pickett was asked about his relationship with Corey because let's be honest, I mean, that's why DJ Pickett is here.
To be honest, he's not just a coach to me. Like, he's a real mentor outside of my dad. I see him as a father figure. So him just, like, I thank him a lot. Like, just he helped me grow as a cornerback, just to get where I'm at right now. So he helped me a lot. So,
I mean, one of the smartest things that Lane Kiffin did was retaining Corey Raymond. It goes without saying, but for as long as you have C-Ray in the building, the best of the best of the best are going to want to play here. It's why you have DJ Pickett. It's why you have Haven Finney. It's why you have a 5-star number 1 corner in the country for 2027 that you are hot on the heels of and very likely going to land. So, talk about irreplaceable players. I would say Braylon Moore offense. On defense, I'd look at number 3. Let me know your thoughts. You can email us, tweet us, text us, 225-396-4400, 396-4400, 396-4400. I should continue to remind you as well. Of course, you can text any of our shows as well. Our phone call-in line is also now an active text line. So you can text 499-1045 at any point during any of our shows throughout the day. So feel free to use that text line and interact there as well. All right, it's After Further Review. We're brought to you by Rouse's, the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Rouse's.com, Rouse's.com, Rouse's.com. Remember, you go to Rouse's.com, you can get the weekly specials there. So whatever that weekly ads are, whatever the discounts are, if you're shopping on a budget, Rouse's can help you there. You want to go pick up dinner for the whole family tonight, something for everyone. Rouse's is always a great spot. Rouse's is always a great spot for lunches. But I can't tell you how many times I'll pop into the Rouse's right there in Burbank and Lee. I love their Asian bowls. If it's like, beef and shrimp fried rice or lo mein or whatever it may be, I love their Asian bowls. They're fantastic. But they got everything. They got sushi and they got their hot bar if you want to go get boiled or fried seafood. They got everything over at Rouse's. The official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints, Rouse's.com, Rouse's.com. Rouse's. This feels like home. All right, y'all, it's AFR cruising along here on this Thursday edition presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. I do want to get some reaction in to our conversation a day ago with Verge Ausberry. And I'm so grateful for Verge for coming in studio and spending nearly a full hour with us in studio. And naturally, so much of our conversation was about baseball and the financial commitment to baseball and keeping Jay Johnson happy. Well, Hunt Palmer last night caught up with Jay Johnson after the Tigers finished practice and after we spoke to Verge. That piece is up at Louisiana Sports Net if you want to read it for free. But we'll tell you what Jay had to say. I'll give you some reaction. You can keep getting yours in as well. Email us, tweet us, or text us here into the show. All right, we'll continue. It's AFR.
AFR.
I've been telling you about Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness for a year now. Something new that I've been trying there for the last 2 weeks is called Stem Wave. And they do use it for men with ED, but it's not just for that. As a matter of fact, I've been using it for my back pain that I've told you about. And I've dealt with chronic back pain for a long time. I'm going to way oversimplify this, but effectively what it does is it creates a miniature shockwave at a point in your body, which recruits, it basically tricks your body into thinking there's an injury there. And so it recruits blood flow and stem cells and healing components to that area of your body. And I went this morning. It takes about 20 minutes. And I'm blown away by how I get immediate relief from it. Now, I've gone 3 times, and it's super affordable. I mean, $50 a treatment. So you can buy packages of a dozen or whatever it may be, but it's something worth looking into if you're dealing with pain. YourGoodwood.com.
After Further Review with Matt Moscona, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Healthcare for your lifestyle. Learn more at DecisionCriticalBR.com.
I think we've been on a pretty good run with some types of things. The non-conference record is something like we've taken great pride in. Just maybe some difficulty of getting a player past a certain threshold of things. And that's always under construction anyways and never taken for granted. Like, we structure our program around consistency, though, like mentally, physically, training, and we haven't gotten that, and we just got to keep pushing forward to it.
That was Jay Johnson meeting with reporters on Wednesday. Yesterday was an interesting day because we had LSU Athletic Director Verge Ausberry on the show. And Verge came in studio for nearly the entire hour number 2. And if you missed that conversation, I would highly recommend find the time to go listen to it or watch it. You can catch it on demand. It's on the AFR LSU YouTube channel. You can search podcast AFR LSU. You can find where to find all of our on-demand stuff. It's all linked at LouisianaSports.net. It's easy to find. It's on all our social medias. You can find the whole interview. And we covered a wide variety of everything, from Lane Kiffin and Will Wade to the new basketball arena and everything. But most of the conversation naturally was about finances. And it's how I started the conversation with Verge, when I said, look, all your coaches are in place. Lane Kiffin ain't getting fired. Will Wade ain't getting fired. Kim Mulkey ain't getting fired. Jay Johnson ain't getting fired. You got your coaches in place. So what's the biggest challenge facing you? And he said finances. And so that, which was obvious, but he needed to say it. And there's no bigger challenge, I think, right now that we've all talked about than baseball, because baseball is a sport that in many places is a I don't want to say an afterthought, but it's a consolation. If baseball is good, great. If they're not, okay. It's about football or men's basketball or different places, UConn, women's basketball, you get it. But here, baseball's got to be great. There's no alternative. The challenge is the way the revenue share is set up. It's not set up for baseball to participate at the level that you'd really need. So you rely on whatever you get in rev share and then third-party NIL dollars on top of that. And that makes it really difficult to know every year. The way I would compare it, the difference between rev share and NIL, think of it like if you're in sales and you have a base and then you have a bonus structure. It's very hard to know what you're going to make when your base is low and you have to make or commissions, right? Or if you're a waiter. Waiters have a very low base, but they make tips. So some months are great and some are not. And it's very difficult to establish consistency when you don't know what you're going to make. So similarly here, Jay Johnson might need to spend, Verge said yesterday that LSU baseball, this is the big takeaway, was that the revenue share for baseball is going up. So it's going to match. Do you have that one? Yeah, this was Verge yesterday.
The year coming up, women's basketball and baseball probably about the same number, about 5%. Like I said, I've only been on the job for a month, so it wasn't that way before. We're going to do that. But at the same time, we really helped baseball. We call front loading some money. We did with them, and we raised a lot of money for baseball. So we caught them up.
So remember, you can't front load anymore. That you front loaded with the collective. Remember, you were very cash. We talked about this all last year. You were very cash rich, and so you're able to front load before rev share started. So they were able to front load with a lot of that cash for this roster. Well, that's the collective can't do that anymore. You can't just have a collective write checks to players anymore. So you have rev share, and then you have whatever you can make in true third-party NIL. So the front loading helped for this year, but you don't have that option for next year. But getting Jay and baseball close to women's basketball, if you're just doing the math, you're talking at about $1 million. Now, the number that I understand is that Jay's rev share number this year for 2026 was about $600K. And there are schools in the SEC that are much higher than that in rev share. Rev share. If you push baseball close to women's basketball at 5%, that's going to put you at about $1 million. And I'm here to tell you, $1 million is not enough to fund a competitive roster in the SEC. So he is still going to need a heavy investment of third-party NIL dollars on top of that rev share number. Is that the other part you have from Verge? Do you have anything else from Verge?
Yeah, I have everything that he said on baseball. So met with Jay about baseball.
Yeah, so Jay and Verge, Verge said that he met with Jay last week about all this after Jay made the comments about MLB, not being interested in MLB right now. And some of this conversation started to bubble up a little bit. So this was Verge.
Moving forward, we're going to make sure that, baseball, that their rev share is going up. And we're also going to have more money for them for NIL. I've been meeting with Jay about that. He had some concerns about where we were and things we had to do. And we met this week on that. I want to have those relationships with my coaches.
So Verge confirmed that he and Jay met. Hunt Palmer over at LouisianaSports.net has a big write-up about this whole NIL, rev share, go up, the whole thing. And Hunt spoke to Jay exclusively for this piece at LouisianaSports.net. And Jay confirmed that meeting, said, quote, "I'm very fortunate to be working with Verge. He was instrumental in hiring me at LSU, and he played a large part in our 2 national championships. He knows the importance of baseball at LSU. We had a great meeting this week, and I have full confidence in his leadership and commitment to help me make LSU baseball the best it can be." Okay. Verge is saying the right things. Jay is saying the right things. One of my favorite sayings that you hear me say all the time, you could probably finish it before I even start it, actions speak louder than words. They're all saying the right things. They're going to get baseball what they need. Jay's happy with Verge. He trusts Verge is going to get him what he needs, all that sort of stuff. We'll see. I know there's a lot of people have asked about like crowdfunding. That donating a TAF for baseball is not actually going to help the NIL number. So crowdfunding isn't actually going to help in that respect. You could always, I guess, get some creative accounting and move different money into vehicles to get to the players and all. But in a sense of how these third-party NIL deals are done, you going and making a monthly $10 donation a TAF earmarked for baseball is not going to help the roster. What they really need is for businesses to continue to get involved in the NIL space, the true NIL space, through Max, NILSU Max, to do true third-party NIL deals with earmark for baseball. The complicated part, like we continue to say, is football is always going to get whatever it needs. Heath Schroyer was brought in specifically to fundraise for basketball, for Will Wade. I think it's a good idea, by the way, because you have some people, some heavy hitter donors that just aren't interested in basketball. But you have some people that's their thing. And what Heath is going to be able to do is bring new dollars to LSU basketball. Baseball is the one that has such wide, vast support from many different levels of LSU's fan base. From the 7-figure donors like Gordon, who's done tons of NIL deals. Obviously, Our Lady of the Lake, who has done so many NIL deals with LSU athletes across all sports. Todd has a suite at Alec Box Stadium. I mean, there's Todd Graves, Canes, who's our studio sponsor here. But what I would love to see baseball do is engage the 10 to 100,000 donor more. Because there's a lot more of those than $1 million donors. It's harder. I explained this earlier in the week. It's easier to go sit at one lunch, and get a $1 million check. That's easy. That's one lunch. It's a big lick. Than having to go find 10 people to write a $100,000 check. But in many instances, that's more doable, and that's the untapped resource so far. Or the $25,000 check. Because in some instances for baseball in particular, that $25,000 check is a big deal. Can be a big deal in baseball, the $50,000 to $100,000 check. You don't have a lot of baseball players in college that are making $1 million. The highest price tag I have heard from an agent representing a player, and it is an SEC player, is $750,000. It's a giant number for baseball. Now we hear multi-millions in football and quarterbacks and all that stuff, but for some context. So I think there's two parts of this. Yes, Verge, LSU, Zach Greenwell, who's handling fundraising for baseball, NILSU Max, all that. They're going to have to come together to make sure the resources are there for baseball. But I think the other part of this also is on Jay Johnson. Because LSU did have a multi-seven-figure nut for this roster. And the reality is they missed. They missed on Zach York. They missed on Seth Dardar. They missed on Simpson. They missed on Trent Caraway. I mean, York, Caraway, Dardar, that's supposed to be 3 starters in your infield. You missed on those guys. So either your evaluation needs to be better, or you need to not take risks on guys that you're not confident can play at this level. You know, last year, the biggest for 25, Gavin Keelan was the big fish in the pond. LSU wanted Gavin Keelan. They didn't get him. He went to Tennessee. Tennessee paid more. Who did LSU get? Daniel Dickinson. That worked out. He became your starting second baseman. He was a stud for you in the national championship team. Even played with a broken hamate bone. You hit. This year, you missed. So hit on your talent or minimize risk by pooling your money for a smaller number of top-tier elite level impact guys. Look, there's 10, 12, 15 truly massively impact guys in the portal every year. Go get one on the mound, one on the field, change your team. Skeens, Tommy White. And invest in retaining your roster. I mentioned it before, but wouldn't you like to have Costello at first and Mikey Ryan at second this year? Know you have those guys for 3 more years or for 3 years at a lesser price tag than what you had to pay York and Dardar? And yeah, this is hindsight 2020 because those guys haven't worked out. I'm not trying to bag on those two. I'm just illustrating. I have to give you examples to illustrate it. And look, you got more than halfway to go still in SEC play. Maybe those guys turn it on and are awesome the second half of conference play. I hope so. That'd be great. What a great turnaround story that would be if they get comfortable and hit their stride. But if we're having this conversation, we have to be honest on both sides of it. Making sure you maximize the resources you have are another way to make sure that you continue having success. All right, we're late for a break. We'll knock it out. Come back. We'll talk Ole Miss with Chase Parham next.
AFR.
We're brought to you by the Watermark and the Renaissance. Watermark Downtown, Renaissance Southtown. Watermark Downtown, Renaissance right there on Bluebonnet. Tell you all the time, Renaissance, of course, is where the LSU football Tigers stay the night before home games. If that place can host the LSU football program the night before home games, my goodness, they can host your event. Make sure you call my friend Allison Crump over at Renaissance Baton Rouge. She's the event coordinator for both Renaissance and Watermark. So if you want to have an event at either property, call over to either Renaissance or Watermark. Ask for Allison Crump. She'll get you squared away. I love what she says. We're in the business of saying yes. So they'll manipulate their space however they need to fit your event. If it's a wedding reception, an awards banquet, maybe it's a fundraiser, gala type event. Maybe it's a boardroom for a dozen people. They can help you out at Renaissance Baton Rouge. Right there on Bluebonnet. Remember Tallulah, great dining experience right there in Renaissance Baton Rouge. Well, great place with the terrace, indoor, outdoor flow. Check it out right there on Bluebonnet. It's Renaissance Baton Rouge.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Healthcare for your lifestyle. Learn more at decisioncriticalbr.com.
Chase Parham, Rebels 24/7. Good enough to join us for a couple of minutes here, preview the series from the Ole Miss side of things. Yo, dude, how are you?
Good, Matt. How are you?
I'm really well. Is LSU walking, or LSU fans team walking into a hornet's nest in Oxford, or has things settled down a bit?
Ole Miss feels much better all of a sudden after Saturday's series finale in Gainesville. The Rebels were down 2-0 and had not had a runner to second base yet in the game of the rubber match. They scored 5 runs. They end up taking the game 5-2, gets them to 5-7 through 12 league games. And Matt, this is a volatile team. This is the team that if you told me they get to the postseason, I do think they're going to make the postseason. But if they go 0-2 in a regional, I'm not shocked. And if they go to Omaha, I'm not shocked. They are living off of a couple really good starting pitchers. They got Hunter Elliott, who just knows how to get outs in this league. He started the national championship game in 2022, and a legitimate top 10 arm in Cade Townsend with a pretty good bullpen. But, dude, the offense is rough. It was supposed to be boom or bust, and it has not been a lot of boom so far in league play.
I'll get to the offense in a second. Let's stick to the pitching because, I mean, you're right, Chase. Look, Ole Miss won a national championship riding two arms all the way to and through Omaha when they were the last team in the field. So I agree with you. Like, it can be done with the right arms at the front of the rotation. Just walk me through how that rotation has sort of managed throughout the first 4 weeks of conference play.
So Hunter Elliott has been good, not great. He never gets knocked out of games early where he gives up 8 runs. He's been around this world a long time, but he doesn't have the pure stuff that you typically see at the front of rotation. So he gets into pitch count problems, takes him a little while to work through batters from time to time, and he stresses the bullpen more than you definitely would have seen 10 years ago with an ace. Now things have changed. It's a much smaller, sample size on how long starters stay in, even in front of the rotation. But Elliott's going to keep you in games. And then Cade Townsend survived a scare a few weeks ago. He had a shoulder flare-up at Texas. It really looked bad. I was out there in Austin, and we thought, oh, no, this is a problem. But instead, he was excellent in his first really kind of start back after that last week against Florida. 1 run, 6 innings. He was, I think, mocked 8th in Keith Law's athletic first-round draft for the summer. And then the third spot's been a little weird because I was hearing you talk right before break about LSU missing on some guys out of the portal, and Ole Miss is dealing with the same thing. 1 offensive, 1 defense, 1 on the mound. 2 of their top 3 paid guys on this roster just simply haven't panned out, and one of those is Will Libbard, who was supposed to be the Sunday starter, supposed to be a transfer from Missouri that really gave you a front-line action, and instead he's been taken out of the rotation. He's in the bullpen. I think he can do that with 2 pitches. He has a role, but it's not as a number 3 starter, but they're really living off a guy named Taylor Rabe. Big development guy. He's throwing 98, 99 miles an hour when he came into Ole Miss as a strike thrower. Joel Mangrum has changed the projection of this program. He was brought in from the Cleveland Indians as the pitching coach 2 years ago, or before last year, I guess I should say, and he has really developed niches. He has put a different structure on this entire staff. Mike Bianco has gotten out of the way, and they have enough arm depth for me to make that comment to you, where I do think if you get any offense, they could be a dangerous team in the postseason.
Okay. Chase Parham's with us. Rebels 24/7 at Chase Parham. If you want to give him a follow on Twitter, really good follow. Let's talk about the offense. So they're hitting, 250, 252 as a team, something like that. But I also see big home run numbers, and I see power there. So what are they offensively?
They are a team that is really dangerous when they hit the ball out of the ballpark, but they struggle mightily when they do not hit the ball out of the ballpark. Matt, you're right about the overall numbers, and look, the schedule's been difficult. At Florida, at Texas, Mississippi State at home. That's a really tough 3 out of 4 series so far in league play. But they are hitting .212 in league play. They are in the bottom 3 of the league in home runs, and total bases and batting average, while leading the league in strikeouts, as in the most on offense as far as in league play. This is a team that, look, Judd Utermark can hit the ball at the ballpark. They've got a ton of value out of Tristan Becerra, a Clemson transfer, but they just are really struggling 1 through 9. You had 3 or 4 spots that were supposed to give you the move the baseball action, because look, in college baseball, you can't be as 3 outcome as in the pros because the defense is just not as good. They're going to make errors if you give them a chance to boot it around. There's ways to manufacture runs. And Ole Miss hasn't done that. 1 game against Mississippi State 2 weeks ago, they were 0 for 16 with runners on base. They got beat 2-0 in the middle game against Florida. They don't manufacture anything. This is up to 3 or 4 players to simply hit the ball out of the ballpark. When they do that, they're pretty good. But if not, it's been a struggle. Again, Daniel Pasella, not picking on him, but he's transferred to Illinois State. He is making the 2nd or 3rd most money on this roster, and he is currently hitting 143 with an OPS under 750. It's just not panned out for what you expected. He had 48 career home runs at Illinois State, and he has not translated. Dom Decker, the Murray State second base transfer, he is hitting under 250, I believe, at this point. Still walking a lot, but it's just a valuation mistake. There's valuation and evaluation, and Ole Miss has struggled with both of those from a portal target standpoint. Dom Decker, look, there were signs. His BABIP was over 400 last year. When you're not a home run hitter and that's the case, there's probably some regression, Matt, and I think they're just seeing some of those instances where these players that were at mid-majors that had these huge numbers, it's not panning out in league play right now.
Sounds familiar. LSU's dealing with a lot of that right now, too. Chase Parham's with us. So, Chase, I could also look at the offense at Ole Miss and I say, okay, well, you went to Texas and lost a series in Austin. No crime there.
Nope.
Won a series against Kentucky, and LSU ran into their ace, and that was a problem. That was a home series. Gets swept by Mississippi State, who, by the way, Baseball America is projecting their 3 starters all to be first-round picks in the 27 draft. So no crime in losing to that really good team as well. And then you go on the road to Gainesville, and you win a series against the Gators. So how much of the struggles is misevaluation, just not as good? How much of it is you played 12 games against really good SEC teams?
I think the second, the latter, is definitely a part of this. Look, there are pieces, and that's why I have some hope for this team as it goes on. Again, Will Furniss has played a lot of baseball. Eddie's kid has a 300 batting average, basically. He can get on base. He can do a lot of things in the middle of the order. Udemark is only a few home runs away from Ole Miss's career record that has been standing for almost 40 years at this point. And again, ton of value out of Becerra. He's under 6 figures. He's only making 5 figures from this team. They didn't expect a ton. He's hitting .331. He has 40 RBI, something like that. Hayden Federico has been much better the last few weeks. And what they're doing is they're just finding 1 or 2 guys every game that has a pretty good game when they win. And they hit the ball in the gap. They hit the ball, out of the ballpark, and they walk a lot. I will give them that. They take a lot of pitches. They will stress some pitchers from the walk category, and it gives them a lot of opportunities. It's just also created a lot of frustration because they do nothing with runners in scoring position. So if they can get just 3 or 4 innings where they get 1 hit, 1 walk, something to kind of get going, yeah, they can take series, and that happens partly because of the margin for error. Their pitching staff has allowed them to take 9 at-bats throughout the game and see if you can put something together. And if you do, you might be in business. But the entire trajectory has changed so much off of that win against Florida that I mentioned, and then the opener against Texas, because they were down in the 9th inning, got a grand slam to tie it in the 9th, and then won it in the 10th. So they have done a lot of late game work, and they're a tough baseball team. I'll give them that. They don't quit. They don't give up. They still stay very much committed to their plan in the 8th and 9th innings. And this is a big series for them. When you just look at the math, going into the year, Ole Miss had, at least on paper, the toughest league schedule in conference history. They've got to get the wins where they can. You see an LSU team that looks very wounded in some ways right now. Ole Miss needs these 2 before they head to Knoxville next weekend.
Yeah, Ole Miss comes out of this weekend 3 games under 500. The math struggles to math without doing something extraordinary.
Their RPI is 10, though, Matt. I think there is a world, just planting the seed, where Ole Miss could be the first ever 12-18 team to get a regional bid. And I think they're potentially a host team at 15-15, just simply because of the analytics.
Okay. We've talked about Tennessee a bunch from a year ago. Tennessee was 16-14, and they lost their last 5 series in conference a year ago and hosted as the number 14 seed. So there are ways that it can happen, and who knows what goes on in those rooms behind closed doors when they put the field together. But if there's a blueprint for Bianco's squad this weekend to win the series against LSU, how do you think it looks? What's the best case?
They pitch the crap out of it. They get at least 5 innings out of Rabe, Elliott, and Townsend. They're able to ride 1 or 2 bullpen arms that can go 2-3 innings and really have some defined roles to shorten the game through the bullpen. And then it's that LSU gives them a few opportunities. They hit a couple batters, they walk a couple guys, and then Udemark or Becerra, they run some balls out of the ballpark. And if they do that, Ole Miss, I do expect to win the series.
Tigers are pretty good at hitting and walking batters. That's been certainly an Achilles heel this year. We'll see if they can clean it up, throw it over the plate this weekend. He's Chase Parham, Rebels 247. Give him a follow at Chase Parham. We appreciate it, man. Thanks as always.
Thanks, Matt.
All right, be well. Brought to you by Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry, lmfj.com. lmfj.com, Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. We're in that time of year, y'all. Spring is here. Beautiful when people love to pop the question, get engaged when the weather's nice. Thinking of buying that engagement ring? Lee Michaels is where you need to go. They've helped Louisianians get engaged for 4 decades. Why? Selection, value, customer service. What I always talk about, the Lee Michaels experience. You want a beautiful, sparkling diamond that you'll notice from across the room? Well, you go to Lee Michaels. You want great value in the Lee Michaels experience? Well, you go to Lee Michaels. 9 locations, 2 of them in Baton Rouge. New Orleans, Lafayette, Shreveport, all over. Check them out at lmfj.com for Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. lmfj.com. All right, y'all. It's after further review. We are glad to have you hanging out with us here. Muse will do Tigers in the Pros when we come back to wrap up hour number 2. We will have Beth Torina in 45 minutes from right now. Big weekend out at Tiger Park with the Go Teal walk for ovarian cancer awareness and research. Love being a part of that for years, as we have been. So we'll talk to Beth coming up in about 45 minutes from right now. Quick break, and Muse will have Tigers in the Pros next. Stay here.
AFR.
Get Gordon, get it done. Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys. We had Trent Mahoney in studio with us in hour 1. He's fighting on the Titan Combat Championship card this weekend at L'Auberge, which is sponsored by Relief Windows and Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys. Gordon loves to give back to the community. It's one thing that I've come to know very much about Gordon in the time that I've gotten to know him. You see him on billboards, you hear him on radio, you see him on TV and all the stuff. But he's someone who loves this community and loves to give back and sees that as a philanthropic responsibility. That's why around high school graduation every year, he sponsors the Gordon's Grads program, where he gives graduating high school seniors the opportunity to win a laptop or a MacBook before they go off to a 2 or 4 year college or a trade school. So if that's you or someone in your family, make sure they know about it and then go register and apply right now at gordonsgrads.com. gordonsgrads.com.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Healthcare for your lifestyle. Learn more at decisioncriticalbr.com.
All right, wrapping up hour number 2. As always, we thank Blasia and the great team over at Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Blasia has been a great part of our family for tons of years. I've told you when she was a CV nurse, she was a CV nurse when we brought Drew home from the hospital. She cared for Drew many, many days. And I could not possibly give a higher recommendation. And so if Blasia says she handpicks every nurse on her staff, you know you're getting the absolute best in-home, carrying out your doctor's orders. It's not just healthcare, it's healthcare for your lifestyle. There's so many packages available if you want to buy packages for so many hours of nursing care per week or over the course of a month. They will customize a package to fit your needs. So give them a shout with that discovery call, decisioncriticalbr.com, decisioncriticalbr.com. And don't be influenced by the BR. They are all over the state of Louisiana, now a Dallas office as well. So they started really locally in Baton Rouge around COVID. Administering COVID tests, helping administer COVID tests. But it has become so much more, obviously, in the last 6 years. I'm fired up for their growth. DecisionCriticalBR.com. All right, Muso, Tigers in the Pros.
Tigers in the Pros. They still bleed purple and gold. They're just really rich now.
On this Thursday, we start out at Augusta National. Your 18-hole leaders for the Masters. Defending champ Rory McIlroy and LSU's Sam Burns.
Let's go.
Cards in opening round 67. 3 under on the second 9, including 2 under through Amen Corner. You play Amen Corner under par. That's a recipe to stay at the top of the leaderboard. Plenty of work for Sam left to go, but 1 bogey on the day and an opening round 67 gives him a share of the Masters lead after 18 holes with your defending champion, Rory McIlroy.
Just shut it down right now.
Get it done. Get it done, Sammy.
Just shut it down right now.
But then it's a tie. They're tied. You got to go to the playoff.
We can tie it.
You can't tie. You got to go to the playoff.
Go to the playoff.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got to have a winner. Alex Lang. Really good outing for Langer. Now the Kansas City Royals. 2 1/3 of relief. Just the 1 run. Didn't walk anybody. Punched out 2. Of course, the Royals stink.
Good to see Langer back
They
up.
lost. Good to see, man. Tough. The injury hurt him a little bit, and just couldn't really find his stride up there in Detroit. Change of scenery. Love that. Love that for Langer. Josh Smith. There you go. Needed a good day. Needed a good day. Got it. 2 for 3. Scored a run as well. He's up to 143 now. Hopefully that just keeps on climbing there for Josh Smith. And lastly, Naz Reid.
Should have stayed.
Yeah, got a start last night. Went 15-5. Also blocked 2 shots and stole the ball 3 times. It's Tigers and Pros.
He got a start.
He got a start.
¿Por qué?
I'm not sure. I guess a rest day for somebody. I didn't say why he was just starting.
Brought to you by the Williamson Eye Center. You know why you call the Williamson Eye Center? to see 2020. You want to see 2020, call 924-2020. Maybe you need that eye exam because you haven't had your annual eye exam or you can't remember the last time. Williamson Eye Center. Maybe you wear contacts or glasses. Time to update that prescription. Williamson Eye Center. Locations all over Greater Baton Rouge. Or maybe you want to get rid of the contacts and glasses forever. Williamson Eye Center. Dr. Blake Williamson, just the best. LASIK, PRK, Evo ICL, that's the implantable contact lens, an alternative to LASIK. So if you're not a candidate for LASIK, maybe you're a candidate for Evo ICL. Give them a shout, the Williamson Eye Center. Change your life. WilliamsonEye.com, WilliamsonEye.com. All right, y'all, it's after further review. Anthony Davis is pissing off Pelican fans again. I want to get some more reaction to the Verge Ausberry commentary.
AFR.
You know, you work so hard. You deserve a chance to unwind and relax. Play a little bit. First South Farm Credit can make that happen. You want that recreational land? Maybe that hunting property in Texas or that camp in Mississippi, whatever it may be. Or maybe so many of their clients are folks that work in the city but want to live in the rural lifestyle. Maybe you work in Baton Rouge but you want to live in St. Francisville. Or you work in New Orleans but you want to live on the North Shore, Tangipahoa Parish. You know, they got a meat branch. Get that 100 acres, build your dream home, and then commute. So many people are choosing that rural lifestyle. Listen, maybe it's recreational timber property as an investment. Talk to your CPA. See if there's tax benefits to owning property. First South Farm Credit, your first call. FirstSouthland.com.